It's interesting because I know your past work is very engaged with like landscape as a kind of national symbol of both progress and democratic ideals, right, that are associated with the history of landscape, and that landscape in the United States was a kind of like history painting. And still life too has that tradition in the United States. Still life too is seen as kind of like the most democratic of all the arts. And compared to kind of European still life, American still life was always like full and blossoming, and it represented the kind of fruits of our diversity and the blossoming of our nationalism. And what I find so interesting about these, much like your landscapes, is that literally bleeding out of all that still life had once stood for. I think one of the Art Forum critics said that your still life was like kind of bleeding out. And it's like all of that idealism, right? Just like leaking, you know. It's not a ripened juice, it's a rotting juice, you know. Now I'm getting really depressing.
I know, it's like so depressing. After I did the watercolors, I tried to make oil paintings. It didn't go anywhere, and then I thought they actually seem like they could be some sculptural ideas in here, and ceramics seem like a medium that I wanted to try just because it's in the conversation with still life. And also, like we talked about still life before, I was thinking it's also like one of the, like in the 19th century, it was like the lowest genre, like history painting, mythological painting, I don't know what
portraiture.
Yeah, it all goes down and down, and still life's at the bottom, but often women would do still lives.
Right. And watercolors.
And watercolors.
And
yeah, we were
ceramics.
talking about the mediums, like maybe being traditionally women's.
Yeah.
Or in the past, so ceramics, watercolor, and then also the genre, but it's, instead of these big landscape paintings, it's a more like interior view of the home or something, because I was thinking like, what does climate change look like on our table in the home? Like, not like looking over at the ice cap. Those are, it's like a different viewpoint.
It's like domesticating this like global.
Yeah, because it's happening in our houses, in our homes on so many levels.
The intersection between like the domestic scale and these national or
Yeah.
international issues, I think is also really interesting with respect to the George Washington topiaries.
Yeah.
Because there's this paradoxical element of like, on the one hand, it looks sort of like Mount Rushmore or some big national monument. On the other hand, it's like George Washington you could have in your backyard that every person could have as part of their suburban American dream.
Right, people can like make their own sculpture in the backyard. Yeah, so those were translated into these pieces, and I guess thinking about like the smaller scale versus like what would normally be like an outdoor heroic scale bronzed piece. I made the big one first that's like cross-hatched, and I was trying to make it look like a topiary. And then as I went on, they got a little more dissolving. I was telling somebody this, I was trying to make it look like a topiary, and I come from a painting and drawing background, so I was like cross-hatching it. And I'm like, it doesn't really look like a topiary. So I Googled cartoon topiaries, because cartoonists have to reduce the mark so that you know what it is really quickly. And they use like a rounded line, so that's why I came to that pock mark. Somebody came to my opening there's like a phobia of holes, like it's like a thing. People can have a phobia of holes, and like they totally freaked out and had to, like couldn't really look at them. They were like creeping them out. But yeah, they're almost like pitted or pock marks.
Yeah, they are pitted.
Some people thought they were coral, like that mark, because a lot of my work has to do with decay in some way, or mimics decay, and I think I like how these talk about decay in a different way.
Well, we talked about that in terms of just the material of ceramics, that opposed to your past work, which really is about a kind of destruction and decay, here it is this question of, is it decaying, or is it a ruin, or is it embryonic in some way? Is it forming? Is it in the state of formation?
That one reminds me a lot of that, I was saying that movie Altered States. I don't know if anybody saw that movie, where the guy's going through these different transformations from like monkey to human to old person, and it's like old school special effects, and he's like morphing. But I think, like, I've always been interested in transformation, and I feel like the ceramics maybe lends itself better to that idea than the paper mache, where it was almost more about stripping away.
Right.
And Barry likes that one with the, like, limp sword.
Barry then had a good comment about them all being kind of flaccid Washingtons.
Well, I mean, the little George Washington on a horse he has a little pre-epic sword, but then, behind him, obviously, it's wilted and gives a sort of sense of fecklessness to
Yeah.
the whole thing.